Now we're going to do it together. Okay?
Okay.
Okay, so as we do it together this time, you're going to be reading the word problem with me, using our cube to find all of our information together, and solving together. Okay? Okay, so looking at our word problem first, let's get ready to read it together.
Carla has 28 and 35 red cinnamon. She has 7 boxes to pack her cinnamon in. Good. How many cinnamons would fit into each box?
Okay. So now let's look at our mnemonic device, cubed. This is the one that we've been using for multiplication, two-step problems, and now our division two-step problem. Okay, so starting with C, circle the key numbers in units. Okay, so find our key numbers. And whenever you're circling, I need you to circle silly bands also, because that's what we're looking at. It's okay. And silly bands. And that's the unit. That's what we have. 28 silly bands and 35 silly bands. Okay, now what's our next number? Is there any other numbers? Okay, and do we just have 7 or do we have 7
Boxes?
7 boxes? Okay, now you underline the question. So now you're going to underline your question. Okay, and then now B, we're going to box our math action words. So let's look back. What tells you our math action words? Do you see any math action words? Look in our question. Let's start in our question. Do you see any math action words? Down here in our question. Let's start with how many. So let's box how many. Okay. So how many silly bands would fit into each box? So we know that each is a math action word because that's telling us that they want to know how many is going to go into each box. Okay? And then Miss Wagner would also box and, because it says Carla has 28 blue silly bands and 35 red silly bands. So this tells me they're probably going to want to know how many silly bands she has all together. Since it says 28 blue and 35 red. So I'm going to box and. Okay, now evaluate and eliminate is E on our mnemonic device. Do you see any information when we're looking back in our word problem that we need to eliminate? Are there any extra numbers? Okay, so we don't see anything that we need to eliminate. We're going to use all of this information. Now our last D, draw. That's when we're going to switch to our graphic organizer to help us work our problem out. Okay, so just like when Miss Wagnon did it, we're going to do the same thing whenever I showed you, okay? So remember it was first me, then we, then you, okay? So now we're on we, so we're going to work through this together. In our first strip, we have 28 and 35. So we do 28 in one box, 35 in the other. Now in our second strip, it says she has 7 boxes to pack her silly bands in. So we know we need 7 boxes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then if you draw a line right here, that'll make 6 and 7. Okay. Do we know how many go in each box? No. So remember, we're going to put our question marks there because that's what we're looking for, is the amount that goes into each box. So do you see how each box on our diagram has 7?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so let's look at each square. There are 7 squares. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. But we don't know how many each box has. We know we just have 7 squares. Okay? So, do you see how each box has 7? Does each box have 7? Right. We don't have 7 in our box. We have 7 boxes. Okay? Alright, so now that we have our strip diagram information filled in, we are going to see how many silly bands Carla should pack in each box. So we need to solve to see how many silly bands we have all together first. So down here in our equation box, we're going to solve to see how many silly bands she has together. So she has 28 blue and 35 red. Okay, so I see you put division, but remember right now we want to know how many we have all together. So when we say all together, what does that usually tell us we're going to do?
Addition.
Yes, add. So we're not on our division stuff yet, okay? All right, let's add those together. All right, so now we know we have 63 silly bands all together. And we need to pack our 63 silly bands into 7 boxes. So now this is going to be our next problem. 63 You got it? Are we adding again? Are we?
No.
Okay. Do you know what we're doing whenever we want to pack them into each box? We're
Division.
separating them or dividing them. Good job. Okay. So 63 divided by 7. And since we don't know 63 divided by 7 off the top of our head, we're going to come over here and do repeated subtraction. Okay, so for multiplication, remember we can do repeated addition to see how many, and whenever we're doing multiplication, we can do repeated subtraction for our division problems. Okay, so we're going to start with 63 and subtract 7 each time. Okay, so do we need to borrow? Our larger numbers on top, so we need to borrow. Go next door. Okay, so 13 minus 7. Okay, and then we're just going to repeat and subtract by 7. Good job catching your mistake. What is it? Okay, let's look at this. 16 minus 7. So if we started at 7 and we counted up to 16, we have 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Good job. Let me bring our 4 down. Okay, Miss Wagnon's going to finish writing it out so that we can try to fit it all in here. Okay, now we have 49 minus 7. I want you to do this with me. 9 minus 7. Remember we do 2. Bring our 4 down. 42 minus 7. So we have our larger number in our ones column at the top. Does that mean we need to borrow? Yes. Okay, now we have 12 minus 7.
Five.
5. Good job. Bring our 3 down. That's 35 minus 7. Okay, again, our larger number is at the bottom, our smaller number is at the top in the ones column, so we're going to borrow from our tens column. Okay, 15 minus 7.
Seven.
Okay, not 7. Let's look over here where we had 16 minus 7. 16 is 1 more than 15, and our answer was 9. So, over here, it's going to be 1 less than 9, which is 8. Because our 1 more, 16 is 1 more than 15, 9 is 1 more than 8. Okay, and then we bring down our 2, 28 minus 7, so 8 minus 7 is
1.
1, and down our 2. 21 minus 7, again, left to borrow. 11 minus 7 is 4. Bring the 1 down. 15 minus 7. If we look over here, 16 was 1 more than 15, and 9 is 1 more than 8. Now 15 is 1 more than 14, so 8 is 1 more than 7. So 14 minus 7 is 7, and then 7 minus 7 is 0. Alright, so now that we've done our repeat addition, we're going to go back and count how many 7s did we use? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Remember, we don't count the 7 because this was our remaining balance. We only count the 7s that we subtract, okay? And when we're counting them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We know that our answer is 9. So 63 divided by 7 equals 9. So that means that we could come up here, erase the question marks, and put 9 because we now know that 9 goes in each